what it really looks like to me. Okay. Talk about that later. Now, let's really begin to break this one down because I'm rather surprised this one fools anyone once you really start to look at it. First, there is no account or record of the genetic disk ever being discovered. This is kind of unusual because even fake artifacts have origin stories, usually listing times and places, often giving details of how the artifacts were found and by who. Yes, it's called a provenance. It's, a paper trail or some kind of trail proving the existence of this thing or whatever. So that's lost, all right? So at this point, it's impossible to make a negative or positive conclusion about it, okay? It just isn't. So it's open for discussion. This time all we have is the disc was found in Colombia by Jamie Gutierrez Lega. This doesn't tell us anything, and it sure doesn't help create confidence in authenticity. Colombia is a big place. Where in Colombia was it found? How did Gutierrez Lega discover it? Was he digging with a group, or did he just stub his toe on it? Why is there no record of it being discovered? Are there any other witnesses to the discovery? What did he do to preserve it? Where did he take it? Who else saw this artifact? Does Mr. Gutierrez Lega even know he's associated with the disc? Or is he a convenient target for conspiratorial minded? All right, so, that's questions anybody would ask, okay? Even, doesn't matter what you believe, okay? There's a lot of questions there, and it just seems that this thing doesn't have any provenance whatsoever, so everything has to be a sort of, 0.0, determination, assessment. So, it could be anything, all right? So, and as far as we know, it goes through one expert. I don't think that's enough but even if they know what they're talking about. Okay, so what I have been able to cobble together about the genetic disc I found on a variety of personal blogs that I will list in the resources below. However, other than repeating the same shoddy details, they mainly just marvel over how cool the carvings are on the disc and how they clearly show the process of life, quote unquote, including two naked individuals, images of sperm, fertilized eggs, embryos, and some other random squiggles. But of course, to see those things, you would need a microscope. So, of course, if it is indeed an ancient artifact, then how is that possible? All right, so, but again, this sort of genetic disc thing is a misnomer, but it's interesting that they named it that, and then you see these things. These are cool images, very sleek and modern looking, but they are not evidence of anything by themselves. Of course not. Without a provenance, no. And that would be with anything. Okay, so here's part of his update here, and here's where, more of the PSYOP misinformation campaign comes in, because I got him on this. This is just unquestionable, but his update. Second, the claim here is that lyddite is as hard as granite and is also delicate and flaky, making it too hard for prehistoric people to carve and too delicate for them to carve in such detail anyway. The first problem is that the way people are trying to support these claims is comparing the MOHS scale reading of lyddite to that of granite, never minding that lyddite and granite are two completely different types of rock. Okay, which is true. The MOHS scale does not apply to rock. Doesn't apply to rock. I don't know, I heard different. But so the hardness of the rock used to carve the disc is not relevant. Okay, so whoever this Hammer guy is in 2013, I think he better check again, because the MOHS scale most certainly applies to rock. All right, and most certainly applies to such things as diamonds. Okay, diamond is a rock. All right, it's a stone. All right, and so you look at this MOHS scale of mineral hardness, diamond being the top 10, it goes through any number of minerals which are stone. Okay, gypsum, calcite, fluorite, apatite. Okay, quartz being one of them. Okay, has this hardness of 7, pretty hard, all right? But it applies to many other things as well, different kinds of stone, all right? So let's see here. It applies to many different kinds of stones. So in any case, touchstone being what they determine as lyddite here in Wikipedia is what you often see when you go to hawk your gold jewelry at a pawn shop and they rub it on the stone. Well, it's either fieldstone, slate, or lyddite used for assaying precious metal alloys, okay? It has a finely grained surface on which soft metals leave a visible trace, okay? So this is what they rub it on there to see if it's the real McCoy so they can pay you and you get out of there and pay your car bills or whatever it is, all right? So, but let's look at lyddite here, okay? And what lyddite is, because this is very interesting what this stuff is and what they say about it, okay? Radiolarite is a siliceous, comparatively hard, fine-grained, chert-like, and homogeneous sedimentary rock that is composed predominantly of the microscopic remains of radiolarians, okay? Which is very interesting to me because radiolarians are still around today, okay? And this is something what they look like, right? And I did my video on bioluminescent bioelectric animals and biomechanoids, and you can see it right here. I show radiolarians in here and was talking about how they are related to UFOs based on this book by this Constable fellow who was a friend with Wilhelm Reich of Oregon Cannon fame, okay, about these sky beasts and atmospheric organisms. And you heard on my channel, this is what I believe UFOs are: creatures that live in space who are bioluminescent, bioelectric, and biomechanoid. Okay, that's what you're seeing, you're not seeing, and they're telepathic, and they have very strong telepathic brains, and when they try to communicate with us, the only way we can look at it is like primitive people looking at flying machines or something like that. Okay, but it's just of interest to me that the lyddite is made out of radiolarite, and is radiolite, and it's made out of these animals, okay? And what they say about it is they're silica skeletons that compose it, you know, and they're biomechanoid skeletons that compose up this thing, okay? And it's very interesting what they say at the end of this thing here. They talk about them all through the eras, and they're still with us today. But look what it says here, okay, if I can get to it. Okay, it's here somewhere. Okay, use. Radiolarite is a very hard rock and therefore was extensively used by Stone Age man for tools and weapons. Radiolarite has therefore been called the iron of the Paleolithic, quote unquote. That's very interesting. Iron of the Paleolithic. Axes, blades, drills, and scrapers were manufactured from it. The cutting edges of these tools, however, are somewhat less sharp than flint, like obsidian and whatever, but flint is harder, so flakes finer. Okay, so look, what he's saying in this article here is baloney. Okay, I'm not buying this whole thing. It doesn't apply to rock. Of course it applies to rock. It applies to the metal. I was looking at sites where people were talking about choosing different types of stone and talking about granite and how it compares on a MOHS scale with marble. And it's referred to all the time. What is this guy talking about? All right, so misinformation. I call bullshit on this guy here. I'm sorry, he's got it wrong. Okay, so he says that they can carve the rock. Okay, so he doesn't believe it's made out of these materials, but, you know, look, you know, the radiolarite doesn't look like radiolarites. It's their crushed skeletons formed in layers. Okay, and it fractures, and the harder it is, okay, the more apt it is to fracture. okay, as opposed to malleable and softer rocks, okay, that don't fracture. Okay, the harder it is, it's going to fracture. It's like, wood is stronger than steel. It's not harder than steel, but it's stronger than steel, as you notice by cars wrapped around your neighborhood tree. Okay. All right, so third, let's begin to look at the people involved in this. The supposed finder of the genetic disc is Jamie Gutierrez-Lega, who is an industrial designer known for his modern and sleek designs in his artwork. We know Gutierrez-Lega is a real person, but I have no idea what, if anything, he has to do with archaeology. Yes, nothing. He's a collector. All right, with a little bit of knowledge about archaeology, who Klaus Donna talked to, is kind enough to give him the artifact and have it examined. I can't really say more than that with any certainty. I have not been able to find a way to contact him. However, if the story is remotely true, I find it very suspicious that a modern artist found an artifact out of the blue that looks very sleek and very modern in design. I'm not saying Mr. Gutierrez-Lega has done anything. It's my guess he's probably not involved, or if he is, he's been harmed